Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Scout Tactical channel. Tonight a review of the awesome Kimber Tactical Pro II, or Tactical 2 Pro. This is a great gun. It's a 1911, as you can see. It's available in 45 or 9mm. Of course, this one is in 45. And this is kind of a special gun to me because I wore this gun as a detective. As you know from the other videos, I work still as a full-time police officer. I'm a detective. And after a while, my lieutenant was always on me to switch from my M&P 40 compact to a 1911. He was a big 1911 guy, and this is the gun I chose. I've had this gun probably about a year and a half, and it is really nice. This is my first Kimber. They're not for everyone. They're pretty dang expensive. This model in particular is about $1,300. I did find it a little less on Gunbroker. This is the rig that I wore it with. This is an El Paso saddlery rig, and you have the double stitch belt, which is thick so it doesn't let the gun flop out. You have the holster, which has a tension screw but no real retention other than a little bit of tension on the gun itself. And then the double mag pouch. I like the setup. It worked great for me. I also wore some handcuffs in another pouch, but I don't wear this anymore. As of 2 months ago, we went back to full uniform detectives. And I'm back to my M&P 40 full size. So I really hate that. I miss wearing this rig. I miss carrying this gun. The 1911, if you've never used one, is an awesome machine. The grip is just so right. The angle is so right. It just points and shoots naturally for most people. I will say though that some people don't like 45. And the smaller guns like this Pro size, 4 1/4 inch, or their ultra size, 3 and 3.5 inches, depending on what brand and model you're looking at. They are a little snappy. I'm going to give you that. But a lot of companies are doing these in 38 Super, 9mm, 10mm, which is still snappy, 40 caliber. So there's a lot of options out there. This gun in particular is available in 45 or 9, as I mentioned. 9mm may be a great bet. So on the 1911, we've shown this particular gun in the intro to concealed carry pistols before, just briefly. I've shown you other 1911s when we did the Ruger 1911 review. I showed some competitive options. So I think as gun guys, you guys probably understand what I'm talking about here. Okay, a 1911. So it's an all-metal gun in most cases, though a couple of companies are doing some polymer lowers. It's modular, meaning you can take it apart as a regular human, not a gunsmith, and do a lot of stuff to it, although some stuff will require machining and fitting. But there's a whole industry built around the 1911, and that's really what makes it so popular. Just like the AR-15s, just like cars and hot rods and stuff like that, you can soup it up as much as you want. There's a lot of parts available for it. Now, I will say that and then give you this. This gun, one of the few that I own, is 100% stock. One of the few that I own stock. I do normally triggers on some of my polymer guns and this and that. This gun came with all the bells and whistles. I didn't have to do a thing. So what do you have here? You got some awesome laminated grips, which I think look good. They look kind of Rugerish on their gun side. They're textured, super grippy, so I like them. And it comes with a factory magwell. As you can see, this is what helps you load the pistol a little bit faster because the magazine hits that and bounces in a little easier. You don't have any slam jams when you're trying to throw a mag in there quicker. Just a little bells and whistles stuff here, guys. It's got the skeletonized trigger, which makes it a little bit lighter. It's got the skeletonized hammer instead of the GI style, which is textured. Meprolight night sights, front and rear. It's got an ambidextrous safety, both sides, as you see. You can use the safety on both sides. So that means if you're a lefty, you're good to go, or if you're shooting left-handed, you're good to go. Very handy. So the gun itself, the mag release right here, standard fare. Okay. It's an awesome piece, but as you see, oh, look at there. That's not as long as most 1911s that you've seen, correct. Most are 5 inches. The GI style or full-size 1911s are 5. This is a 4 1/4. In the Colt world, it would be a Commander. Okay. In the Kimber world, it's a Pro. And then you have the 3.5s, or even 3 inches on some brands, but the 3.5s, which are the Ultra in the Kimber, and the Officer in the Colt world. So Imperial Ordnance has different stuff, and Nighthawk has different stuff, and Wilson has different stuff. Every brand has a little bit different term for that, but most people know them as the Commander and the Officers when you get into the small ones in the GI or the full size. So that was just Colt. terms, and that's been used for a long time. Of course, the 1911, now that it's 2013, is 102 years old. Why does the gun survive? Well, number one, it's shooting the 45 ACP, right? The 45 ACP was made famous in most of our wars and finally dropped in the 80s by the military. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a bad boy. 45 ACP is 230 grains of copper or lead coming at you. It's not real fast, but it doesn't have to be. It's kind of the, would you rather get hit by a fast golf ball or would you rather get hit by a big bowling ball scenario? And that's really the only way I can explain it. It's just as bad to get smashed by something huge as it is to get hit by something little that's fast. Okay, both are going to do damage just in different ways. So the 45 is a man stopper. It's a combat proven round. It's combat proven for 100 years. So you can't argue with that, okay? But it doesn't hold as many. Let me go ahead and throw that out. My one detractor for the 1911 is it doesn't hold as many. Here's one of the mags that I ran, and I normally use Wilson Combat mags, though I will say I never had any problems out of my Kimber mag. I know a lot of guys on the internet bash the Kimber mags and whatever, but man, I shot the Remington mags and the Kimber mags and the Ruger mags, and I don't have any problems with them. But hey, the Wilsons are awesome. This is a real Wilson Combat mag. They're about 10 or 15 more dollars than normal, especially in this black for some reason, with the awesome Hornady Critical Duty Plus P 225 grain load. If you haven't shot this load, hang on for dear life. It's pretty substantial. Lots of snappy. But this is what I run. This gun came from the factory as a 7-rounder. Even though I'm in Texas, there are no limitations, but I didn't have an 8. I don't know the explanation. The same size mag, if you don't know, can hold 8 in a 1911 as well. So my Wilson mags are all 8-rounders, and I prefer that. And you can run one more if you want to go +1, run 1 in the chamber and 8 in the mag, and that's a total of 9. So you're getting there. You know, how many do you need in a gunfight? Only the one that hits your opponent, right? But what if something happens and you need multiple rounds, or you have multiple assailants in a defense situation, because that's what we're talking about here. Or even in a sports shooting situation, you're limited on your round capacity. Although they do make 10-round 1911 mags, but they stick out a little much for especially the concealed carry guys. But the 1911 overall is awesome. As I mentioned, this is kind of a hoss to shoot with the Plus P Hornady Critical Duties. Awesome bullet. They go through all the different barriers, glass, metal, sheetrock, aluminum, you know, just all these different things that Hornady tests on, so it works. Even clothing, it doesn't clog up. But good Lord, is it snappy. It's actually not fun to shoot that gun with that load in it, and it's the only load I found that way. We started off with 230 grain gold dots at my PD for the 45 caliber guys, and they shot just fine through there, and you put these Hornadys in there and it'll rock your world. But it is doable, and I found them to be very reliable, no problems, and supremely accurate. So the 1911, as we were talking about, is a single action firearm. And we've gone through this a little bit. You've probably seen it in other videos, but what that means is, as you can see, there's nothing in it. If the hammer is in the down position, which is the up position, right? This is an uncocked gun because the hammer's riding up. And you pull the trigger, nothing happens because you have to cock the gun and depress the grip safety. Okay, so you have to be holding the gun and you have to cock the gun. So most people ride cocked and locked, just like that. And I know this is kind of cowboy for a lot of guys, and okay, I'm a detective in Texas, so yeah, maybe I am a little cowboy, but this is a good way to, this is the way the gun should be handled and stored, and in your holster, this is how it was intended. When you're ready to fire, you simply flip the safety, and you're good to go. The firearm will fire. The hammer goes forward, and it fires. On the next shot, of course, it goes back, it automatically locks the hammer back, it automatically cocks itself. It's a single action weapon, and then if you're gripping it, you can pull the trigger again. I got some oil on there. But that's how this gun works. So nothing happens if the hammer's down. And what do you really need a gun if it does nothing? Okay, you know, what happens if the hammer's down? Well, nothing, and that's a useless gun. That's what I'm trying to get to. So you want to ride cocked and locked. You don't want to have to remember to cock that thing in the moment of stress, in the moment of truth, and use it in a defensive situation, even if you're a police officer. The best training in the world won't let you do that. You either ride this cocked and locked, or a 1911 is not for you. If that's not what you're ready to do, now you can store it or you can travel with the hammer down and everything and empty chamber and all that, but it better be locked and loaded if you're on your hip ready to use. This is kind of a light 1911. Let's talk about aluminum versus steel frame. You saw that we shot the full-size Ruger SR 1911, which is an excellent gun. It's a steel frame gun, and so it's real easy to shoot. Super smooth, stays on target. This is an aluminum frame gun, which means it's lighter, which means it's easier to carry every day when I'm wearing my Dockers and the belt and a dress shirt, you know. It's easy as a detective to carry, but it's also snappier and more recoil when you go to shoot it. This gun is 28 ounces. Pretty light, okay? What is a comparison? What does that compare to? An M&P 40 full size, 4 1/4 inch barrel. That's a 4 1/4 inch barrel 1911. It is a 23 ounce gun. So you have 5 more ounces than a normal M&P. A Glock Model 23 is, I think, 22.8 ounces, 22.4 ounces. So it's right in there. So it's a little heavier than the polymer framed M&P or the Glock mid-size guns. That's no big deal. 28 ounces on your belt, no big deal, versus 23. Can you tell it? Maybe some could. I really couldn't. I wore the polymer M&P 40 that you just saw in my duty belt, and now I wear it again. And I wore the Kimber Tactical Pro in this rig as a detective, you know, and yeah, it carries just fine. I think that it's a good small of the back gun. It's a good concealed carry gun. The 1911, in case you don't know, is 1.24 inches thick, 1.25, 1.28, depends on the manufacturer. 1 1/4 inches thick on the slide. As you see, this makes a very thin package, and that's not counting the bulk of the ambi safety sticking out. That's not counting whatever grips you put on there. You can put some really fat hose on there or whatever. But just in general, the frame of this gun, the back strap and the slide, you're coming in at 1 1/4 inches. So super thin, easy to carry, easy in the hand. Even little people, smaller shooters is what I'm trying to say, not little people. A smaller shooter, men, women, and children of any kind, any age, can normally hold 1 1/4. That's no big deal to anybody. You get into some of your larger frame Glocks, you get into some of your bigger grips on a 1911, it may be a problem. Or maybe I'm going to throw out a SIG. You saw we did the 226 TAC Ops on the channel just last month, and you know what? That was a bigger, fatter gun, but it has its place, but it may not fit everyone's hand. This at 1 1/4, no problem, man. You can hold this, right? You kick it off a little bit, just so you know, through the palmar crease, off a little bit, and you're in. Cover with your other hand, and you're good to go. The 1911 is a one-hand job. If you want to shoot it one hand, it will work. 2 hands, even better. So the 4 1/4 is simply a smaller sight radius, a 3/4 of an inch shorter barrel. Normally has some different guide rod bushing configurations in most brands, and it's really designed to be a little more portable, a little more carryable on the belt, a little more easier to conceal. That's really your only deal. If you didn't care about the weight of the gun or the length of the gun, say you're carrying in an open carry rig or a pretty heavy duty belt or a shoulder system or what have you. Anyway, if you didn't care about that, you'd go full size, right? Full size is a 5-inch gun, same mag capacity, same frame, just a full 5-inch slide with extra weight. This is a Remington R1. You've seen this on a couple videos just as a comparison. I will get around to reviewing this. I've gotten a few requests. But the full size gun has more weight, has a 5-inch sight radius, and therefore is a little easier to shoot, especially at the long range stuff. So you go with this if size and weight weren't a consideration. But in most guys, because most guys aren't police officers or military or what have you, most people are civilians, you're going to be caring about that stuff. You do care if it weighs too much to carry concealed. You do care if it's too big to conceal and it's printing in your clothes or brandishing in some states. And then you might get in trouble with the law. You might have an unlawful carry of a weapon charge. You might lose your permit. You might get put on suspension or something like that. You know, or you might scare the public. Even if you're not going to get in trouble, you might scare somebody. So most people do care, and that's why this size, the commander size or the pro size, is an excellent option. Like I said, fully loaded from Kimber with the magwell, the ambi safety, skeletonized everything, meprolight night sights. This thing's done. It's also a flared and lowered ejection port, but most guns are flared and lowered. That just means it runs pretty good. Last but not least, on the 1911, we hit on this a little bit on the Ruger video, is does it run well? Well, be real clear. Don't let me lie to you. All 1911s can have hang-ups. They're the Ferrari of the gun world. It's an all-metal, slide, fit-to-frame situation. Okay, even in the Kimbers, even in the mass-produced stuff like the Remington R1 you just saw, or the Ruger SR 1911, etc. These guns can hiccup a little bit until all these metal parts start jiving together, and you get 300 or 400 rounds through. I've only put probably 500 or 600 through this Kimber, and really probably like 450 or 5. And it runs just fine. But in the first 2 boxes, I think one of the rounds, the hollow points, hung on the ramp, and it has full ramps in this thing. And that's just to be expected. You got to use them a little bit, make sure they're good to go, and you'll get everything working. Some guys say, oh, you have to shoot 1,500 rounds or whatever. I'm not really a proponent of that. I don't think you have to shoot that many rounds, but you have to shoot a few hundred and make sure it's running well. I guess you wouldn't bet your life on something you haven't tested, is the theory there. So, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Highly recommend the pistol. If you're looking for a Commander or Pro size 1911, the Kimber Tactical Pro is a great buy. Although a little steep, it's a top-end, awesome barbecue gun. So, really appreciate it. I'm asking, we're driving for the first 100 subscribers. We're in month 2 of the project. Views are going great. If you like the channel, please subscribe. Check us out on the web, scouttactical.com. Check us out on Facebook. Thanks for watching.